My name is Tom Rose and I'm one of the chaplains at Epworth in Richmond. And I met Margaret several times actually during many of her admissions. We passed the time in friendly, warm, gentle conversation. She was a woman easily liked, and it's an absolute privilege for me to be here with the family to share with you in this service. Before many of you arrive, we will listen to some classical music which Margaret loved, and we'll be hearing some more of that as we support one another after the service. But classical music, the gentleness of it, was part of Margaret's story. David, Robin, John and Susan have all asked me to pass on their grateful thanks to each and every one of you for your presence here this afternoon, for your friendship over the years, and for your continuing support during these incredibly difficult days. Immediately following our time together here.
This is amazing. Thank you all so much for being here on this celebration, recognition, tribute to our mum and your friend and your family. Thank you so much for coming to share with us today. This is just amazing to see the sea of faces. And hey, if you can smile, that will be just an extra bonus, because we really are here to recognise something that's very special to us. Margaret Balfour Melville was born in Melbourne on the 6th of March 1928, and Margaret Wardle died in the same city last week on the 18th of July 2015. But her long life was to take her across the world many times, and to live in Werribee, Geelong, Winchester, England and Ocean Grove in between. Mum came from very strong Scottish stock, as you've probably gathered, many of you. And just looking out on the golf course again, it's a lovely thought that here we are from a family that golf was such an important part of their lives and the previous generations that we're here today. And many of you are here to celebrate Mum's 80th birthday at this venue. And she would be amazed and proud and pleased to think just that we're all gathered back here for another family recognition celebration. Thank you. Margaret began her primary schooling at Atherstone in Sandringham, a junior school of Furbank. When 10, she moved to Furbank in Brighton. Mum remembered that when the family moved to Hammond Street in Brighton, she was allowed to ride her bike to school. Mum, in talking about her childhood, would talk about learning to knit and cook cakes from her grandmother, and family holidays in the Dandenongs and Marysville with her parents and sister Betty, who's with us today. Mum and Dad met at Melbourne University. Dad served during the war, and by the time he returned from war service, Mum had commenced at university and they both graduated in 1949. Mum with a Bachelor of Commerce and Dad with a Bachelor of Science. I know from photograph albums that their trips away with the student Christian movement were a great time for them. Mum and Dad were married at St Cuthbert's Presbyterian Church in Brighton and had their honeymoon at Hepburn Springs, which I'm sure is why Hepburn Springs was always a favourite for us as a family picnic spot and to pump the mineral waters there. Mum and Dad's first house was in Werribee, built from the Age Small Homes plans. The first 6 months in the house must have been particularly trying while they waited for the electricity to be connected. They lived in Werribee for the first few years of their married life while Dad was working at the State Research Farm. The next move with me in tow was to Geelong, where Dad had a job teaching Ag Science at Geelong College. We had a number of addresses over the years in Geelong, and this is where my sister Robin, brother John and sister Susan were all born. Mum and Dad were always keen on gardening, and the establishment of gardens, usually terraced with timber from Ken Burns' wrecking yard in Geelong, and planted with plants from Fates, nurseries and friends, marked their lives together. As children we realise now just our life really was pretty idyllic. With supportive parents, we were involved in sports and activities at our schools, Geelong College and Morongo, met with friends at St David's, and had frequent visits to the many beaches surrounding Geelong, coupled with early morning swimming lessons at Eastern Beach. We were great picnickers as a family, and Mum and Dad were always ready for a barbecue at the Yuyangs or out at Stiglitz. Our family holidays, usually researched by Mum, would take us to many places, including Tasmania, Wilpena Pound, and many, many visits to Canberra. But I'm especially grateful for one to Mildura on the Murray when I was 12, which was to kindle a lifelong interest in the area for me. I might add that these holidays were all by car, so car sickness, roadside picnics, sweaty vinyl seats, and Dad's homemade seat belts were all part of the adventure. Nothing, though, could ever surpass the long-drawn excitement of planning for our year in England in 1967, which was such a highlight and a pivotal part of our lives. Throughout the rest of her life, Mum gained great satisfaction and immense pleasure watching her children and then her grandchildren embrace travel and enthusiasm for living in different countries and different cultures. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce my brother John to continue the family story.
Thank you. As one of the two middle children, I have my part of the talk is the middle third. It sounds like a piece of music, but it's the middle third of Mum's life. I also would like to welcome you today. It's so fantastic to see people from so many aspects of our life, the massive geographic shift and the return to Geelong and back that's afforded so many friendships for our family. It's goodness with all of you here today. The Geelong of our childhood was a provincial place. From our beautiful, bountiful garden with its rolling lawn, walls constructed from memorial stones of demolished buildings, a vast wildwood and abundant vegetable garden created and tended by both our parents, we imagined a larger world. For we 4 children were to accord with a plan already devised by our 2 young parents to travel the world and experience a completely other life in a familiar but foreign land. This one year that was years in the making defined so much about our parents' parenting. It was to be a grand adventure, but one meticulously planned. Mum was to be navigator. On 2 modest salaries, firstly it had to be afforded. From a grand Scottish background over so many generations was able to afford more, Mum mastered austerity in the best of the Presbyterian traditions. Knitting filled the gaps between all other dexterous activities, clothes were recycled and vegetables homegrown. Sundays were spent at home, a strict policy that possibly combined teaching personal resourcefulness with pragmatic economy. But it was cooking that we all agreed that best defined Mum's resourcefulness. Armed with a PWMU cookbook, Mum could stretch Sunday's leg of lamb through a variety of casseroles and school lunches to shepherd's pie on a Thursday. It is remarkable that I can't recall Friday and Saturday's meals as they're the only ones not produced from that 1-2-2 sheet. Looking forward is something that we all do to this day, us Wardles, as it's what both our parents always did. We duly did depart on the P&O Orchids and journeyed via the Suez to arrive in London 6 weeks later in January 1967. We lived first in the White Horse Hotel, the village pub in the remarkable Hampshire village of St Cross, that we'd just taken our children to see, before setting up home in Winchester. An ancient Bedford Dormobile was purchased and our travel itinerary planned to enable us to crisscross every part of England, Wales and particularly Scotland. Every weekend and holiday was filled with travel to visit monuments, gardens, forests and coastlines, small villages and stately homes, great aunts and distant cousins, all Balfour-Melvilles. We also travelled the continent from the south of France northward to each of the Scandinavian countries. Each night, with some enlisted help, Mum would unpack and set up home for the 6 of us in that small brown van. The friends that our parents made from that year away became their friends for life and became integral in the orchestration of many travel itineraries for all of us ever since. We returned to Geelong via the Panama Canal on the P&O Trusan to complete our journey, arriving back in Geelong in January 1968, a year later. We all recall our mother during our childhood in a state of constant motion. Always her time was efficiently spent. As she assisted us in our education, she continued to further hers. Over our discussions of this last week, Robin reminded us of Mum studying each evening on her small dressing table and travelling to evening lectures in Melbourne to complete firstly her librarian and then teaching qualifications. It was these qualifications that allowed her the transition from accountant to school librarian that would enable her to work and then be at home in time for all of us. As well as this, she maintained an evolving social life. It was the polite and slightly formal sociability of these times that she enjoyed, and the many friends from the Mint Club, the Good Providers, St David's and the College and Morongo Auxiliaries have remained friends for ever since. I think Mum was going to be the treasurer on every single one of those organisations and have remained right through the progress and Cottage by the Sea and everything ever since. A family tradition that went back for generations to her family's time in Scotland. She continued to travel to Geelong for lunches until this last month. I recall Mum telling me when picking up from school one day after chatting with another mother that I always let others speak first, as I generally can't see who they are. I have to steer the conversation in directions that may reveal who they are. This was because with cataracts in both eyes, she was very poorly sighted. She certainly didn't drive a car throughout our entire childhood. This tactic was perhaps defining. It's the Margaret Wardle who raised us with such singular devotion, keen intellect and powerful moral compass, always let others speak first. Her opinions were politely and softly stated. She was above all things elegant in her delivery. For all this, she has guided all our journeys with a remarkable navigation.
We've said we've got to try and keep it together for the people who come next. I'm Susan. I apologise about my voice. This is illness as well as emotion. And I'm the fourth child, talking the third of the third or something. I'm sure we got awfully complicated during the week. Well, my parents' careers have been enormously important. They were really looking forward to the next phase in their lives, which was retirement. It also coincided with me, the youngest, leaving home, which I think they were pretty excited about. By the time they got to me, they kind of ready to move on. So following their well-prepared for retirement and settling into Ocean Grove, they really had the most carefree and fun times. They built a great circle of friends, particularly through their walking group and progress clubs and volunteering in their community. Mum had such a strong sense of social justice and support for those in need. She continued her family tradition of working for Cottage by the Sea in Queenscliff. This sense of fairness and selflessness is part of Mum, which has been instilled in each of her children, grandchildren, and I'm sure into future generations. Our parents nurtured their growing family and were around to help with moving house, renovations, babysitting, whatever we needed. However, they never imposed their thoughts, opinions or experience. It was up to us to build our lives, and we always knew that our parents would be there to support us or help us if needed. Mum discovered technology, and it was a new world and she loved it. She took herself off to courses and classes, studying carefully before embarking on the next program. I'm so proud to have had a mother who embraced the new and was so excited about what lay ahead. Her expert use of email, Excel, Quicken, Photoshop, Viber, texting, Skype, Facebook meant she was always up to date and in constant communication with her family. She loved having the most recent iPad, iPhone and discussing this in great length with her son-in-law David and her grandchildren. My dear friend Colleen said to me this week that my mother grew with age, and I think that's the most perfect description. Travel continued to be important part of their lives, both within Australia and around the world, but returning to England, where we lived so happily, was a very special time. They moved to Melbourne as Dad's health deteriorated, and she cared for him in the most kind and respectful way. You were right, that was a bit the time. Okay, back on track. Mum was heartbroken, but with a sense of determination, she knew she would need to keep going with a purposeful life. She enthusiastically set out to active adventures in the Middle East, Alaska, North America, Scandinavia, Asia and Europe, until her mid-80s with her family, with Betty and her friend Annette. It was extraordinary how fit, courageous and bold she was for her age to undertake all these trips. And as you can tell, the travel bug has most certainly been passed through the generations. Next bit. In fact, Mum was always looking to the next adventure, so she's actually booked for her to travel with me to Antarctica next February. I'm not sure, excuse me. I'm not sure how we go with that one. Mum maintained her interest in life, reading, politics, fitness, including daily walks at a cracking pace, and her twice-weekly exercise group. She would head out to lunch with her sister and cousins, with Geelong friends, her book group, Melbourne University friends, Hawthorn Probus meetings and trips, and so much more. She proudly attended her 70th anniversary at Furbank this year, having maintained a lifelong friendship with so many of the girls she went through school with. She also developed close friends with many in her apartment building, who in later years kept an eye out for her and her well-being. Whatever she was doing, despite some health challenges along the way, she would talk with enthusiasm about her day and her plans. I was lucky to have shared so many times with Mum and to have grown with her. She was smart, caring and gracious until the end. She has left us with a genuine resilience, a sense of purpose and responsibility, the love and zest for life and family, which will live on in each and every one of us. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Tim and I'm the eldest of Margaret's grandchildren. Grandma played a truly special role in all our lives, from family gatherings at Ocean Grove to the many birthdays and school holiday visits. We were all made to feel loved, cared for and special. She was a role model for all of us, and she encouraged us and supported us through both challenging times and in pursuit of our goals. And in turn, we've been incredibly proud of her and amazed as she's continued to pursue her own goals, especially in recent years with our grandpa by her side. She played a very special role in my engagement to Stephanie, ferrying the engagement ring from Melbourne to London, which saved me quite a bit on GST. And she insisted on doing, despite being in hospital only days before. She never let those sort of things slow her down. And it was great to have her at my wedding. There's a wonderful photo which I think was deliberately left out of the set today, where she's got a glass of wine in each hand, and she really enjoyed those family celebrations. And when Tom was born, excuse me. When Tom was born in May last year, I knew how much it meant to her to tick back. Excuse me. great grandma achievement off the list. A steady stream of needed goods had flowed well before Tom appeared. And she visited us the day after he was born. And she had tears in her eyes. She held him. It's something I won't forget anyway. It's something I'm thankful for having been there with her for. And I'm so glad she could have met him. And I loved her and I'll miss her greatly. Thanks.
Living next door to Grandma has been wonderful. I've loved having her as my neighbour, and I really miss being able to call in to have coffee and a chat. Mostly my visits involve changing a light bulb or undoing a lid. However, they usually ended up with Grandma ironing my shirt. I thought I looked a bit scruffy. Actually, I've never really needed to iron a shirt ever. I miss telling Grandma about my day. She was always interested in what I was doing, and I know she was really proud of my cricket achievements. I was really pleased when she came to watch my 100th game this year. She would always look after me if I was not feeling well, and would bring me some homemade soup or hedgehog. I'm so lucky to have been able to spend so much time with her over the last few years. I'll also remember the great times spent at Ocean Grove with Grandma and Grandpa. These included great family Christmases and birthdays, walks to the beach and shops, and helping me to garden and to deliver meals on wheels. Grandma was wonderful, and I'll miss her very much.
Some hard acts to follow. You can see by the emotion from our generation how close all of Margaret's grandchildren or Grandma's grandchildren were to her, and the incredible connection that we all shared. And particularly the pride that she showed in all the achievements of our generation, which despite our age, she, until her final days, showed an incredible interest in every detail of our lives, where we were living, what we were doing. Anyway, I better start. My name's Philip. For those that don't know me, I'm David's son, and my two brothers, Robert and Hugh, can't be here today. They're overseas, so I will...
She wanted to hear and see how we were going. When she Skyped us on her iPad, she would often get so excited that she would forget to hold it properly. The camera would be focused squarely on her chin. When asked to move the camera onto her face, she would always say that it didn't matter as long as she could see us. And so the wonderful conversations with Grandma's chin continued. Her amazing ability for someone of her age to pick up and use the latest iPhone or iPad or version of Skype, Viber and Facebook was not so skillfully honed for any greater reason than staying so close to the one she loved. This immense interest in us kids was such a powerful and consistent trait of our relationship with her. Our amazing early days down at Ocean Grove, our coffee and dinner dates, birthdays and Christmases were always such a pleasure. Our conversations went beyond the typical ordinary grandma-grandchild discussions and entered personal topics, deep thoughts and funny stories about each other. She always loved to hear about the funny moments and mistakes we made. Grandma loved nothing more than to simply sit there and observe, smile and laugh. Her presence not made obvious by her economy with words, but by her genuine warmness and kindness. She was extremely interested and involved in everything we did, whether that be exchanging or discussing novels with Charlotte, patiently teaching Beck for the 100th time how to bake a hedgehog, or watching me play cricket. Even in conversation, she was selfless. She never interrupted or volunteered her own stories, but was enthusiastic about ours. Grandma's intellect was immense, as I'm sure you all know, and her incredibly sharp mind stayed with her until the very end. I know the girls gained a lot of pride when seeing a black and white photograph of Grandma at a university lecture amongst a sea of men. When we got accepted into university, Grandma would eagerly tram to the uni bookshop to buy a Melbourne University mug as a gift. She was always so very excited at the achievements of others. We've been reflecting on what Grandma taught us. She definitely led by example. She never lectured us, told us off, or gave us endless stories about what she and Grandpa did right in life. Grandma held strong views, but would never force them upon you. She had such a considered view of the world, a pragmatic understanding of what's right and wrong, that transcended generation. She was consistently a selfless and interested person, and showed us what a powerful impact someone like that can have. Love you, Grandma, you'll be greatly missed. From Beck, Tottenham Week.
I am the second child, but I'm coming at the end. But I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for being with us today, to remember our mother. Especially her dear sister Betty and our cousins, to her McLean cousins who are so special to her, to her Furbank school friends, to her wonderful companions from Melbourne University, to her lifelong friends from Geelong and from Ocean Grove, and to her new friends from Hawthorn, who became such an important part of her life here with Dad, and a great support to her after his death. To all those who gave her such wonderful care with her increasing health challenges, particularly the Upward staff, thank you. Thank you very much. I would particularly like to acknowledge our partners, who she absolutely adored, and who are a wonderful support to us at this sad time. To our dear friends who remember our mum and her famous hedgehog with such deep affection, she was always pleased to see them when they came to our home. Finally, to her wonderful grandchildren, her granddaughter-in-law Steph and great-grandson Thomas. You were all so precious to her and filled her life with absolute joy. She leaves us all absolutely devastated, but with the strength to live our lives as she would want, with care and compassion for others, and a tenacity to set our goals and never give in until they are achieved. I'd like to read a poem that encapsulates perfectly how we will leave here today. You can shed tears that she has gone, or you can smile because she lived. You can close your eyes and pray she will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left you. Your heart can be empty because you can't see her, or you can be full of the love you've shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can remember her and only that she's gone. Or you can cherish her memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back. Or you can do what Margaret would want. Smile, open your eyes, live and go on.
A very special thank you to the whole family for sharing such a beautiful story of Margaret's life. The laughter and the emotion expressed both a very deep love and respect for a remarkable woman. Our tribute to Margaret continued with a slideshow which has been lovingly prepared by the family. I invite David now to push the button.
that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Ooh, someday you wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Trees of green and red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands saying, how do you do? They really say, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them go. They'll learn much more than we'll know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Me, where trouble melts like a lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. The dream that you dare to, why, oh why